This creature may look like a monster, with torn wings, cracked scales, and blood on the tarmac, but it's not what you think, because the Promised Sanctuary became a cage, and the beast is the victim. Under 2 brutal suns, she staggers across burning metal, breath ragged, legs shaking. The collar marks still sting. The voice in her ear won't stop. Worthless, ungrateful mine. Each word a brand that keeps her fear hot. Heat ripples off the landing plates. Drones buzz overhead like gnats that don't care who's hurting. She is tired, hurt, and very alone, but she keeps moving. She has to. If kindness led her into chains once, then pain will lead her out now. She is not a weapon. She is someone who survived. If this escape does not work, if she falls, if she slows, if she is seen, then the man who called her property takes her back, locks the collar, and ends what is left of her will. If healing does not start now, the old nightmare returns, and the future closes like a door. But there is another edge to the blade. If the mechanic who helps her steps forward, he risks more than blood. He risks his life, and the memories that already haunt him. He could die on his own floor. He could relive the moment he failed someone before. So, every step matters. Every breath matters. Either they break the loop together, or it swallows them both. Kira runs, every movement scraping against metal in pain. Her wings drag behind her like broken flags, leaving faint streaks of blood on the floor as she crawls through the narrow service tunnels. Darkness presses close. Hot air chokes her lungs. For hours, she follows only vibration and instinct until the hatch opens and the world drops away beneath her. She falls, crashes into a pond, gasps through the sting of coolant-tainted water, and somehow crawls out alive. When she reaches the river that cuts through the scrapyard, she finally collapses under an old oak, its roots deep in alien soil, still refusing to die. There, trembling and filthy, she tastes real air for the first time in months, and that's when she hears him, a voice quiet and human. He stands a few steps away, framed by sunlight and dust, hands visible, offering a dented canteen. No threat, no commands, just water and a steady look. She drinks, tears mixing with rust and relief. 2 strangers meet on the edge of everything. One who has forgotten mercy and one who needs to believe it still exists. When Kira wakes again, she's in a small metal room that smells of oil and heat. The man sits nearby, pouring coffee into an old cup, his movements calm, practiced, almost mechanical. He tells her his name is Garrett Dunn, a ship mechanic who works in the scrapyards. He speaks little, his tone flat but kind. No promises, no questions. He offers bitter coffee, a cot, and warmth. For days, she eats, heals, and watches him move through his routine, collecting parts, cooking protein paste, repairing broken circuits. Each act is small but full of quiet care. He never asks about the scars or the nightmares that make her hiss in her sleep. He only leaves a cup of water near her bed and a soft light burning so she will never wake to darkness again. They begin to talk in short pieces. He tells her about ships that breathe like people, each one with its own stubborn soul. She tells him about the sky of her homeworld and how the twin suns twist the air. Neither speaks of the wounds that truly matter, but something in his patience starts to build trust. When she asks him why he helped, he says softly, "Because I didn't save someone I should have. She died alone out there. I don't want to make that mistake twice." It's not pity, just an old grief trying to make itself useful. Kira feels the truth of it deep inside. Her claws touch his shoulder once, lightly. "Thank you," she whispers. In that small moment, 2 broken people begin to remember what it means to care. Days turn into quiet rhythms of repair and recovery. The sound of wind through broken hulls becomes their clock. One evening, a sandstorm rolls in, painting the sky in burning copper. The world shakes and howls outside while, inside the small metal home, something else begins to move. Garrett returns from scavenging, sand in his hair and a cut on his arm. Kira scolds him softly while cleaning the wound, her voice steadier now. Their hands brush. His skin rough and warm, hers cool and scaled. The touch shocks them both. The air hums, charged like the storm beyond the walls. The warmth spreads through her body like fire under glass. It hurts, but the pain feels alive, almost welcome. "It hurts," she whispers, her voice shaking, "but don't stop." Garrett doesn't speak. He simply holds her hand tighter. The storm rages, lightning flashing across the thin metal walls, and for a brief moment, the universe outside and the storm inside become the same thing. Loud, alive, and impossible to control. It isn't love, not yet. It's something deeper than that. Two wounded hearts recognizing themselves in another's silence. When the storm finally dies, they sit together without words, the air heavy with the quiet understanding that neither of them is alone anymore. The next morning feels wrong. Too still, too quiet. Garrett notices the fresh boot prints near the water recycler. Too deep, too deliberate. Someone has been here. His jaw tightens. The war-trained stillness returns to his movements. "Trouble," he mutters. Kira's wings twitch with unease. That night, neither of them sleeps. Garrett sits by the window, rifle across his knees. Kira lies awake on the cot, her heart's beating fast at every whisper of wind. Then, 3 slow knocks. Cold. Mocking. A voice answers from the dark. Smooth. Cruel. "An old friend come to collect what's mine." Commander Harkin, the man who once chained her like property. Kira freezes, breath catching, claws cutting shallow grooves into the metal floor. He speaks again, each word dripping venom. "Send her out, mechanic, and maybe I'll let you live." Garrett looks back at Kira. "Stay low," he says, calm but firm. "No matter what happens, you stay alive." The metal door shakes under the next impact. Sparks shower from the frame. Dust falls from the ceiling. And in that choking silence before violence, both of them know this is the moment their pasts have been leading to. The door explodes inward in a shower of sparks and heat. Commander Harkin steps through the smoke, a monster wearing medals. His face is cruel, too polished, too sure of his power. 2 mercenaries follow close behind, their rifles glowing like molten eyes. The smell of metal and ozone fills the air. Garrett stands still, one hand near his weapon, his body between them and Kira. "You brought friends," he says evenly. "You must be feeling insecure." Harkin laughs, flashing a mouth full of artificial teeth. "I just came to collect my property. You can walk away, mechanic. 5,000 credits for your trouble." His voice drips arrogance, each word meant to wound. Then his gaze lands on Kira, and the smile turns vicious. "You thought you could run, little pet? You cost me years of work. You're an investment, not a person. You don't get to have opinions." The words hit like whips. For a heartbeat, Kira almost believes him. Almost. But then something breaks. The fear that has ruled her for so long burns away, replaced by a fierce, sharp anger. She grabs the plasma cutter. Blue light bursts into the room, and with a roar that comes from somewhere deep inside, she slashes. The blade cuts across Harkin's armor, burning through cloth and pride alike. His expression twists in shock. His property fights back. That's the moment Garrett moves. Not fast like a hero, but precise like a soldier who has done this before. He fires once, twice, clean shots. The first mercenary drops instantly, the second staggers before collapsing into sparks. Harkin shouts, fires wildly, misses. The container fills with smoke. Fire crawling up the walls, shadows flickering like ghosts. Garrett is hit in the shoulder, but he keeps standing. Keeps firing. One more pull of the trigger, one clean shot. Harkin falls, his body hitting the ground with the weight of a man who finally learned what fear feels like. The room burns around them. Garrett drops to one knee, blood spreading across the floor. Kira catches him before he falls, pressing her hands against the wound, whispering through tears, "Don't you dare die now." He smiles weakly. "Looks like I finally did something right." Flames roar higher. The heat bites at her wings, but she spreads them anyway, wrapping him close, carrying him through the shattered doorway. Behind them, the old container, his home, burns bright against the desert night, a pyre for everything they've both survived. Morning comes in smoke and silence. The fire's out, the world gray and still. Kira sits by the river, her claws stained with his blood, watching the ashes drift downstream. Garrett lives, barely, saved by her strength and the medic's machines. She paid for his treatment with the credit chip she stole from Harkin's corpse. No guilt, only grim satisfaction. When he wakes 3 days later, his first words are simple. "You're still here." She smiles softly. "I wasn't going anywhere. Weeks pass. The investigation comes, questions are asked, and finally, truth wins. Harkin's contracts are declared illegal. His victims are freed. "You are not property, Miss Kira," the magistrate tells her. "You never were." The words lift something heavy inside her chest, but they also ache. So much pain, all because no one told her sooner. Still, it's over. The monster's gone. She signs her name as a free citizen of the Outer Rim, walks out into sunlight, and for the first time in years, she feels whole. At the scrapyards, life begins again. Garrett's shoulder heals, leaving a scar that will ache in cold weather. Together, they rebuild from wreckage. A new home, small, strong, made of scrap and willpower. Kira plants glowing flowers from her homeworld by the door, their light soft and blue against the desert night. Garrett fixes his old rocking chair, places it on the porch, and sits to watch the sunrise. The universe doesn't give them perfection, but it gives them peace. And sometimes that's enough. Each evening they sit by the river where they first met. They talk about fear and loss, about what they can't forget and what they choose to forgive. They are not lovers, but something deeper. Two survivors who learned that kindness can be as strong as any weapon. When Garrett finally says, "Maybe we could leave. Get a ship. See what's out there," Kira looks at the stars and whispers, "Let's fly." The twin suns sink behind the scrapyards, turning the sky gold and violet. They don't know where they'll go next, but they know one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever comes, they'll face it together. Because sometimes salvation doesn't fall from the heavens. Sometimes it's built by hand, in the dust, between two people who refuse to stop caring. And in that broken, beautiful world, that is enough. Time passes slowly. One sunrise after another. The scrapyard hums with work again. Garrett's arm mends. Kira's wings are strong enough to spread wide in the morning light. Together they build a new home from the bones of old ships. Every bolt they tighten, every plate they weld feels like stitching their lives back together. The structure is small but solid. Walls made from starship hulls, a roof patched with hope. Outside the door, Kira plants the bioluminescent flowers she once carried in secret. Their soft blue glow paints the night, proof that life can grow even in metal and dust. Garrett repairs the burned rocking chair, sanding the char until the wood shines again. He places it on the porch facing the horizon. When he sits there, watching the first rays of dawn turn the junkyard gold, it feels like the universe itself is breathing easier. Nothing is perfect, but they are alive, and that's enough. 6 months later, the stars are clear above Aldderon Prime. Kira and Garrett sit by the river, the air quiet and warm. He sips coffee from his old metal cup and finally says, "We could leave this place." She looks up, puzzled. "And go where?" Garrett smiles, a real smile this time. "Anywhere we want." That's what freedom means. The words settle between them like an open door. Kira gazes at the sky, her wings unfolding in the starlight, the old pain replaced by something brighter. Hope. "Let's do it," she says softly. "Let's fly." The idea becomes a promise. They'll save credits, find a ship, chase the stars not to run from the past but to move toward something new. For the first time, the horizon feels like an invitation instead of a warning. The twin suns set behind the broken mountains of scrap. The stars bloom, patient and endless. Inside the small metal home, two survivors rest, no longer broken, just changed. Kira leans against the doorway, her wings shimmering faintly. Garrett sits beside her, his hand warm over hers. Around them, the world hums. Machines, wind, the soft pulse of the flowers glowing by the door. Kira thinks of everything that came before, the chains, the fear, the fire, and realizes none of it owns her anymore. She found a new kind of home, not built from steel or laws, but from trust. Garrett, the man who fixes broken things, helped her fix her heart too. Tomorrow they'll begin again, one step, one repair, one sunrise at a time. Because the truth of their story is simple. Salvation doesn't come from gods or heroes. It comes from small acts of courage, from kindness that refuses to die, from two people choosing to keep going even when it hurts. And in that choice they found everything they needed, a reason to walk forward, wings healed, hearts burning bright against the endless dark.